Okay, I think we're in live stream, and we'll just let people trickle in for this event. Okay, I think we're good to go. And this event has become live, and we are letting people trickle in. And we'll give people a minute, and it should be relatively smooth. Thank you. All right. Well, I hope we have people from both North America and Asia tuning in to this important discussion. So we'll just start the event and give people the time to join online. Well, welcome everybody. Good morning for everyone who is in North America, and good evening for everyone who is logging in from Asia. My name is Yun Sun. I'm the director of the China program and co-director of East Asia program here at the Stimson Center. We have been running a Myanmar program since 2012, basically focused on the domestic development as well as foreign relations of Myanmar. In recent years, of course, two things has become the theme of our studies. The first one, of course, is the military coup and the political development in the country since the coup. And the second, of course, is great power competition, especially between US and China. People used to think it's China and India, but US-China's strategic competition has become the theme of the day for international affairs, and Myanmar is no exception. So for our Myanmar program, we try to keep the discussion alive, to invite Burmese and non-Burmese scholars, experts, to join us regularly to discuss what they are working on in terms of Myanmar's domestic and foreign development. For today, we have had the pleasure to invite Mr. Myo Yan Naung Thein from currently in Charlottesville, Virginia, and who is teaching and doing research at the University of Virginia to join us for the discussion of an important topic. And the research question basically is, what is going to happen to NLD? Now that we know that Aung San Suu Kyi has been under arrest, in house arrest in prison since the beginning of the coup, and the leadership structure of the NLD, some would argue, has been destroyed. But then, of course, NLD some would argue, has taken a different reincarnation through NRPH, because a good number of NLD members have founded CRPH, which has transitioned into the national unity government. So in a way that NLD has continued its important leadership role in this resistance against the military government. To discuss this topic, what is going to happen to NLD, we have had the pleasure to invite Mr. Myo Yan Naung Thein to give us his view. He is a distinguished Burmese pro-democracy activist and former secretary of NLD's Central Committee for Research and Strategy Studies. He was known as NLD's chief research officer. I still remember fondly of our many meetings in Yangon during the Deng Sen years, and then during the NLD years. And now I have to say, good old years, although at that time we didn't know, and we were complaining a lot. Yeah. He is the founder and director of Beta Institute, which serves as NLD's academic branch. While he is a former political prisoner who spent more than a decade in prison during his 3 prison terms in 1996, 2007, and 2016. So if you want to read more about his biography, you can probably look at our event announcement. But today we only have now is 55 minutes, and I would like to give the screen to Myo Yan Naung Thein just to give us your view as for what has happened, what is happening and what will happen to NLD, and whether you are optimistic that the NLD will continue to play its pillar and central role in Myanmar's political pro-democracy movement going forward. And what do you think eventually is going to happen to this resistance? And for our audience, if you have questions, please feel free to type your question into using the Q&A function. We have someone who is monitoring the questions coming in, and we will get to the questions after the presentation by Mr. Myo Yan Naung Thein. So without further ado, the screen is yours. Myo Yan, thank you.
Thank you, Yon, and good morning. And first of all, I would like to say thank you to STEMSOM Center for giving me this opportunity to talk about this very important topic, very important issue in such a critical moment, critical situation of Myanmar. I want to talk about NLD, but not as a representative for NLD. Of course, I am a member of NLD, and I used to be a senior leader of NLD. As some of you may have already known that I was actually kicked out of NLD. But today, I'm always trying to be very supportive of NLD as much as I can. And today I will talk to you about the two challenges NLD is facing and how to address these two challenges and the real insight of NLD support and how people always underestimate the NLD throughout history. The first challenge is NLD needs to reestablish its relationship with ethnic minorities groups, ethnic resistance organizations, and with other political forces. It also needs to rebuild its reputation in international community. Military coup in 2021 pushed together organizations that had historically been at odds against one another. The committee representing Pidangsu Hluttaw, CRPH, Pidangsu is union, Hluttaw is parliament. So committee representing union parliament formed by NLD parliamentarians had to take refuge at EAO's control areas near the borders of Myanmar. Political forces that once criticized the NLD also joined the NLD in ethnic resistance organizations control areas for safety reasons. All these groups, the NLD, CRPH, EROs, and ethnic political parties, unions, and other ethnic minority organizations together formed the NUCC, National Unity Consultative Council. The NUCC is the policy body which guides the National Unity Government, the revolutionary government, formed by the CRPH and ratified by the NUCC. The NUCC published a two-part federal democratic charter which establishes a roadmap for the future Federal Democratic Union of Myanmar. The NUCC develops and implements policies and strategies in accordance with strategy and goals specified by NUCC. That was very good beginning. Everything seemed to be promising. In 2022, NLD left NUCC without sufficient explanation. Why the NLD officially left NUCC, the CRPH is still a member. After NLD's exit, KPIT, the Kachin constitutive body, which comprised all Kachin organizations, including KIO, KIA, also left NUCC. NUCC was expected to become a convergence point for all political forces together. NLD, CRPH has the de jure legitimacy, and EROs represent de facto legitimacy. NLD is supported by supermajority of Burmese people, and EROs are supported by ethnic minorities population. If NLD and EROs could come together, it would have been great. Majority of EROs do not join NUCC. Instead, political coalition of ethnic minorities area join NUCC as interim coordination committees. NUCC is composed of NLD, CRPH, these interim coordination committees, CSOs, unions, activist groups. These CSOs, unions, and activists were very critical of NLD throughout these years. They always think they also should be important part of Myanmar political scenario. They believe that NLD dominated the political picture of Myanmar so that they are mostly neglected. Once they got inside NUCC, they are afraid that they would be dominated by NLD again. They started their moves of blocking NLD and CRPH in order that they cannot do any political initiatives. Those CSOs and unions persuaded ethnic interim committees into their side. NLD and CRPH could not do anything inside NUCC as they were blocked by all other forces in NUCC. Moreover, decision-making mechanism of NUCC is consensus. With many CSOs, unions, and activist groups in NUCC, they can never reach consensus. It would have been great if EROs with support of ethnic minority population, their territorial control, and NLD with its legitimacy and popular support could come together. All these CSOs, unions, and activists should have been together as a parallel mechanism of check and balance to NUCC. It would have been very great. These EROs, they have two reasons why they do not join NUCC. They do not join NUCC because they were not sure that Supreme Revolution would be winning or not. When NUCC was formed, it was very early to predict. However, now it is very evident that Supreme Revolution is winning. If it is not winning, the military will be doing more offensive against these EROs if they join NUCC. Another reason is that they do not trust NLD. These ethnic minorities groups believe that NLD betrayed them after fighting together against the military for a long time. They believe that NLD was not inclusive, did not live up to their promise to ethnic minorities. They see NLD as another Burmese majority party. What we can see in Myanmar political scenario is that ethnic minorities and other political forces are working together with NLD because NLD is biggest and strongest political entity with its popular legitimacy. They are working together, not trusting one another. They are avoiding confrontations. Confrontations are happening in many other forms. To address this issue, NLD needs to talk more openly with ethnic minorities and other political groups. They need to be more assertive and clear about what they will do, what they will not do. At the same time, NLD must be accountable and live up to their promises. NLD's re-establishing its relationship with ethnic minorities groups and other political forces is key to the success of NLD and Myanmar as a whole. We need NLD in Myanmar political scenario, but in cooperation with all other political forces. NLD also needs to rebuild its reputation in international community. NLD is also opposed by Rohingya population and international human rights activists. NLD needs to recognize its failure to condemn the military and to protect Rohingya minority. NLD silence gave it a bad image. NLD is regarded by many people as collaborator of the military, although it is not the case until the coup happened. NLD needs to make initiative to address that. It won't be easy. NLD needs to show its firm stance for its values. It must show its commitment to inclusiveness. The second challenge, NLD needs to institutionalize itself and build a new leadership. NLD has always been very centralized. Throughout these years, NLD has always been struggling that it has no time to institutionalize itself. NLD is the biggest party. It will still be in the foreseeable future. In my opinion, NLD is still a democratic movement, not even an organization. Institutionalization of NLD and building new leadership is very crucial for its future. There are not a lot of things we can do to institutionalize NLD when its leadership is in prison and many other leaders live in exile. We can start by doing forums of NLD members and NLD youth. Saying about this, I will talk about how NLD is always underestimated by political analysts, political observers, and media. I will conclude my talk with that. In 1990 election, NLD won landslide victory. However, military refused to transfer power to NLD and arrested its leaders, including Aung San Suu Kyi. Then the military junta targeted regional and local leaders. Many leaders were arrested, while others were tortured and killed. The crackdown was so severe that many members of NLD renounced their membership, and NLD offices and flags disappeared out of fear. The military junta effectively made the country a land of no NLD operation, a land of no NLD operation. At that time, many political analysts in Myanmar predicted that NLD was losing ground, as they thought the public was losing confidence in the NLD's leadership, and would never get power. The military intelligence trying to leverage the situation by allowing activists who were critical of NLD space to express their thoughts and ideas, mainly against NLDs. Political diversity is mainly an other phenomenon, where you can find people affiliated to different political parties. More than 70% of Myanmar population live in rural areas, where NLD is the only political party people know and affiliated with. It is worth noting that many, perhaps even most of these supporters of NLD are rarely heard. These rural dwellers are largely farmers who very rarely voice their political opinions. Such are referred to as silent voices. Silent voices. In early 2000s, these silent voices were not taken into account by political analysts and military rulers, who assumed that the people no longer supported the NLD. In 2010, Aung San Suu Kyi was released from house arrest and the military eased some restrictions. Millions of people appear again in NLD uniforms. NLD offices mushroomed everywhere in Myanmar. Even those who had criticized NLD joined the NLD. Election results 2015, 2012, 2015, 2020 already proved that NLD is not at all weak. Only fact that people do not hear silent voices. The dissolution of NLD by military in March 2023 raised concerns about the future of the NLD. With Aung San Suu Kyi and NLD leadership in prison, NLD is weakened. Furthermore, Aung San Suu Kyi is aging and losing her physical strength. There are many questions arising on whether or not organization would fragment into different groups, or whether or not organization can hold on to its supporters. Military and international media often portray NLD as declining or crumbling. However, it is important to understand that many NLD supporters are part of silent voices. The reality is that NLD still has popular support and can still be the strongest opposition to the military, a formidable political power, the stronger party, even in the absence of Aung San Suu Kyi, if NLD institutionalized effectively. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Myo Yan. Especially I think for the emphasis on the silent voice, that people may not be speaking up, but eventually they will rise up and they will express their support to the NLD. I think there are a lot of questions associated with the current status, like you pointed out. It has been dissolved. Excuse me, as of March of this year. So I guess if I can use the purview as a moderator and just ask you a few questions. I think the first question is, how would you assess the operation of NLD today, or what is the status of the party today? Have most of the members basically have renounced their party membership? Is the party still in operation somehow, that maybe not inside the country but outside the country? Is the party still in existence?
Well, thank you for the question. Actually, NLD, whenever NLD was oppressed by military, NLD operates in different locations as networks. So NLD cannot be seen as a centralized mechanism or centralized operation, but they are scattered throughout the country, but they are grouped together as networks everywhere. Now NLD is part of CRPH, and NLD itself is trying to reorganize itself into a important mechanism for this revolution. But at the same time, if you may notice that many political forces are afraid of the dominance of NLD. So that's the reason why they're trying to block NLD. So in this Supreme Revolution, you cannot hear a lot of voice from NLD, because this time, not only the supporters of NLD are silent, but also the NLD leadership who are now in exile or who are at large, not arrested, they are also silent. People inside, the leadership inside Myanmar, it's not possible to voice their opinion. For people outside Myanmar in exile, people in exile, they are mainly listening to what other people are talking about and what other people are doing. And they have chosen the strategy of being good supporters. But we must keep in mind that, NLD is very silent, but CRPH, representing popular legitimacy, is taking a very important role in NUCC. The recent blockage in drafting interim constitution is that some of the NUCC members, organizations, they do not like CRPH to ratify the drafted constitution. It is that NUCC will draft constitution, interim constitution, but CRPH will ratify the constitution. And some of the CSOs and unions, they do not want to recognize the legitimacy of NLD. So they said, no, NLD should not ratify. NUCC drafting and ratification is enough. But in fact, CRPH ratification is crucial because it is the only organization that has the popular legitimacy with the 2020 election result. So in brief, NLD is in a very difficult situation right now because all the other forces, ethnic minorities and other political forces are afraid that it will dominate again. So it's trying to be as strategic as it can be to be a way to avoid confrontation. But still, CRPH is there and trying to take its leadership. Thank you.
That's a very interesting angle to look at this. That NLD has been too dominant a political power, so there are plenty of political forces within the country that are not in agreement with this dominant role, or for NLD to continue to play this role. And like you pointed out, it appears that NLD is both the source of legitimacy for CRPH, but also at the same time carries a political liability or political baggage, because these other political forces are not in agreement with NLD's supreme status in the domestic politics. If I can just pick your brain on a specific question, which is related to the lady. For a very long time, the lady Aung San Suu Kyi has been seen as the face of the democratic movement of the country, right? And she also has been the personal symbol almost of NLD and the political missions that NLD stands for. And we also see what her government was able to achieve during the NLD term from 2016 to 2020. And now the lady is in jail, and there are rumors about her being put under a house arrest. So maybe a slightly more lenient terms. I guess the question is, what is going to happen to the party after the lady? Because now she is in jail, so she's no longer an effective political leader anymore, right? She's not giving orders. She's not hosting consultation with her advisors. She's no longer playing the leadership role. So, which means that NLD, if it wants to continue, and I guess the same question applies to NUG as well. If the NUG wants to continue her legacy, that what do you think is going to happen to her role in this? Basically, if the lady is no longer the face of the democratic movement, is that a loss, or is that almost a development that will free the revolution and the resistance from its historical sort of baggage?
Well, thank you for the question, and that's the reason why I emphasize about institutionalization of NLD. And I don't see NLD even as an organization; it's just a movement. Because it is, although it has structure, because the members of NLD who join NLD because they believe in Aung San Suu Kyi, or they believe that NLD is the organization which can lead Myanmar into a prosperity and development and democratic nation. So it is a popular movement, not even an organization. So institutionalization is very crucial. So I think NLD missed the opportunity of institutionalization from 2010 to 2020. Today, NLD is the strongest and political force in Myanmar. I think it's the only political force that in Myanmar that people can trust and affiliated to, especially in rural areas. In rural areas, if you go and see, they know only NLD, they know only Aung San Suu Kyi. So if the deterioration of NLD will not come from outside, military or any other political forces can never undermine NLD. It will come from inside. So institutionalization is very important. Of course, Aung San Suu Kyi cannot be replaced by anybody because she's like personal icon. But at the same time, we need to recognize that Myanmar always focused on personal cult and personal leadership. And we need now more focus on institutionalized leadership. I think NUG is on the right track because, although NUG is initiated by NLD, most of its members from other political forces, only 12 out of 28 ministers of NUG are from NLD. So NUG In NUG, you will not see any dominant figure. So it is on right track. And NLD right away outside, the same thing. Although NLD in exile and NLD now, which is organized on social media, online, is, it's not dominated by any political figure. So we can say that we are on the right track. Stay, we have that thread, who will lead NLD in absence of Aung San Suu Kyi. If people cannot agree who will lead NLD, it will be failure. But still, even if NLD is divided into two groups, these two groups will be stay substantially important groups in Myanmar, because NLD is the only one and only political force that has the popular support. But that's why I do not recommend NLD to choose a new leader, rather a new institution, and new leadership as an institutionalized leadership. And if this my answer. If I did not answer your question, you can.
No, this is a great answer. Thank you. Thank you for that answer. And I think it's important. Many people have been talking about that NLD needs institutional reform and needs institutionalization. Even during the NLD government, that people were making that argument. And many would agree with you that NLD missed that opportunity. I guess the question following that comment is, well, institutionalization needs to be led by people, right? There needs to be leaders who are able to lead that operation or that movement to make NLD more institutionalized. But the question is, after the lady, who has that authority to even create the institution and to convince the rest of the party or convince the rest of the movement that this is the institution that we need to establish and need to strengthen. So I understand that we don't want personal cult, we don't want the personal leadership to be the dominant figure, the feature of the movement. But eventually, institutionalization still needs to be led by people. And in your view, does NLD currently have those people to lead this campaign moving forward, or is pretty much all transitioned to CRPH and NUG?
Well, again, when NLD left NUCC, personally, I do not agree with that. Actually, NLD should be in NUCC. In that, I see the lack of leadership of NLD at the moment. And the question is not who has the authority to lead. It's a question of who dares to take the authority to lead. Who has enough courage to make decision, to take the lead. Now, I don't see anybody who can who has enough courage to take the lead, who can take the responsibility. Anyway, I believe that among those leaders who are in prison, there are people who got initiatives and leadership. People like our president, Wimie, or the chief minister, Dr. Amunyu, or chief minister, Dr. Zomyamao, or Uwinting. They all have initiatives, a personal authority, and they also dare to take initiatives. So I'm not very happy with NLD leadership right away, who are now exiled, but I hope that leadership in prison, when they are released, they will be able to lead NLD into a good path, even in the absence of Aung San Suu Kyi.
Got it. Okay, well, let's move forward with a Q&A section of our discussion today. And I'm reading through the questions. I think a lot of questions align basically with what I have raised. There's a great question from Steve Hirsch from Voice America, and it's focused on the split that you have talked about quite eloquently between NLD and the other political oppositions within the country. So in terms of this split, do you think that outsiders, especially foreign governments, like now you're here in the United States, do you think that the outside governments, Western governments, understand that there are these major disagreements between NLD and other political forces within the resistance? And do you think that this, if they don't understand this this split, do you think that this has undermined their effective support of the resistance, or their response to the political crisis in Myanmar?
Well, thank you for the question. And I think Western countries and and other organizations in international community, they quite know and understand the current situation. The fact is that, they only hear the voices who voice. So they don't hear the silent voices. So in many cases, I think, they misunderstand NLD or underestimate NLD. Like, they think NLD, like in the relationship between NLD and ethnic minority organizations, both sides need to take initiatives. I don't think it is only the fault of NLD, in this current dynamics. In these other political organizations and ethnic minority groups also need to have the positive engagement with NLD. So I think, to answer your question, I think Western countries, they hear most of the voices from political analysts and political observers. And I don't think these political analysts and political observers can portray the current political scenario as 100% correct. Again, they see most of the voices from the people who are critical of NLD.
Mm. And you think this will basically continue to affect the effectiveness of the resistance?
Yes, of course. Because I noticed that there are a lot of misunderstanding for NLD and NUG. And many people think that NUG is dominated by NLD, and NLD is trying to dominate the current political scenario. It's not the case. NLD is rather blocked by other political forces. Like the case I told you, like NUCC, NLD, if other political forces, they do not want to allow NLD, CRPH to ratify the newly drafted constitution that makes the blockage. So like it's one of the examples that NLD is blocked. Not only NLD, CRPH is blocked. And also, in these days in social media, there are many misinformation about NLD, CRPH, saying that NLD and CRPH are Burma majority groups, and they don't want the federal union in Myanmar. It's not true. I need to recognize the fact that NLD did not do enough while it was in power, because it was struggling with the development issue and also with the military. It's not the fact that NLD did not want Myanmar to be a federal union. So I mean, we need to recognize that NLD have not done enough, but it does not say that NLD is NLD opposed all these, ethnic minorities. So, but in United States or in Congress, many people see NLD as very dominant power and trying to turn down ethnic minority rights. It's not the case. I mean, the voices from NLD need to be heard more, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the question is, so where are those voices? Like you mentioned, that a lot of them are silent currently. And I'm afraid that the record of the NLD government from 2016 to 2020 has not brought a lot of confidence, even among the ethnic groups, about sharing our power, for example, sharing our decision-making authority. So that's definitely a long way to go. And about this question, it's interesting that you pointed out that NLD is not monolithic either. And currently, as we watch the political development inside Myanmar, we also see that there are NLD members who are pro-military. And once in a while, we see reports from inside the country that this member of NLD or that member of NLD has had meetings with the military, and we're trying to convince a lady to take a certain position. Do you think that is true? How do you view these members?
These sort of things always happen, or even in our past history. There are small breakaway, forces, breakaway, a group. I think you trying to refer to 3 members of NLD, only 3. They actually they see military as an formidable. I mean, they think that they need to include military in future Myanmar political scenario. So that they think only negotiation is the only way for Myanmar. But we need to keep in mind that we have tried several times for non-violent movement and negotiation engagement. We from 2012 to 2020, NLD played in the framework of the military. If you consider Myanmar political scenario as a football playing ground, you will see that NLD was playing from 2012 to 2020 by the rules set by the military. But again, in 2020, NLD won the election. Then they said the military did not want to recognize. They did not want to recognize, the victory of NLD. It means that they break their own rules. NLD play by their rules, and military again trying to break its own rules. So it shows that we cannot work with military anymore. Engagement is a failure. Negotiation is a failure. The only way now is armed struggle. But we need institutionalized armed struggle. So after armed struggle, we need more engagement. But these people, they don't believe in armed struggle that people are making these days. That's why they try to negotiate with military. And these days, it is more and more clear that military is losing. Military is losing all the battles they are fighting. They are losing politically. They are losing militarily. They are losing democratically. Now, military control only the urban areas. Even in urban areas, they dare not go out of their offices, their buildings. So if you look at the news, if you read the news, the people, different forces and ethnic resistance organizations are occupying more and more territories day after day. So, of course, to answer your question, of course, there are renegade, groups. They are, breakaway groups, but they do not have real supporters. They are by themselves. Thank you.
That's very interesting. So it almost sounds like the NLD within itself has different directions. So if I may, there is a question about the relationship between NUG and NLD. That what is the future direction of this relationship? But it sounds like, if I can speculate what your answer will be, it sounds like that you're saying that NLD eventually will be absorbed and become a part of NUG. You mentioned that the CRPH has joint legitimacy from NLD. So it sounds like maybe down the road, NLD will be replaced by NLD. Is that by NUG? Do you think that is the direction it is going?
No, it's just the opposite of it.
Oh, okay.
Because we are, what? That's why I said, we now need new era. New era should be coming. That's why I said, what should have been is, the scenario should have been is NUCC comprising of, NLD and ethnic resistance organizations. NLD supported by Burman majority and people in Central Plain, and EROs by ethnic minorities, the frontier areas. That means everybody. So if all these people are together, they can lead the country. I 100% agree with everybody else that NLD should not be as dominant as it was in the past. It should be more inclusive. So I think NUG is going in that direction. Now the question is with the EROs, because they did not join and still do not join NUCC. So if they are committed to formation of a new nation, a new trend, new era, they need to join in the movement. So this is, for NLD after 2020 coup, I think NLD recognized its mistakes. That's the reason why NLD is not trying to be very dominant. So NUG itself is trying to stay away from NLD for fear that people misunderstand the members in NUG as NLD representatives. They are in NUG as they are. Of course, they are originally from NLD, but in NUG, they're trying to be away from NLD. So the future political scenario as current leadership in NUG aim is very inclusive political scenario. So into that scenario, ethnic resistant organizations and other ethnic minorities, they should also join, so that we will have very inclusive political body that can lead the country, and under which will be NUG that will implement the policies of that body. That body, I mean, is NUCC. So that is our dream. That's the dream of NUCC as well. So to answer your question, NUG is going opposite direction from what you have mentioned. They are trying to be more inclusive as they can. Thank you.
Got it. And that relates to the question that Zach Abuja, one of the most astute observers of Myanmar here in the United States, about NLD's relationship with ethnic minorities, with EROs, because like you mentioned, it has not been a very it has not been an inspiring experience, at least from 2016 to 2020, for the EROs, for the ethnic groups, to accept the NLD's leadership. So what do you think that NLD can do in the short term or in the medium term to rebuild the trust with EROs? You mentioned that NUG is trying to absorb all these EROs into a structure, into its operation. But how is it being done? How is it possible without new and institutionalized leadership that you call for? So which one comes first? Institutionalization first, and then reconciliation with EROs, or these two will have to happen at the same time?
They need to happen simultaneously. So I mentioned in my earlier presentation that NLD needs to re-establish its relationship with ethnic minority organizations. That's very important. So if you observe the what is happening now is both NLD and other ethnic minority organizations are trying to avoid one another. They are not confrontation, but they are trying to avoid. But still, confrontations are happening in other forms like this. So it is very important that NLD talks with these EROs. And EROs also needs to talk with NLD. It needs to be bilateral and mutual. So NLD, this time, NLD needs to be very clear about what they will do, what they will not do. Because they need to keep their promises. Because ERO, the ethnic minorities, they lost confidence in NLD because they believe that NLD did not live its promises. Said that Aung San Suu Kyi, NLD, and all these ethnic minority leaders fought against military since 1988, like for 30 years together. But when NLD got power, these ethnic minority leaders were like neglected. or if not regulated, it seems that NLD want these organizations to subordinate them. Of course, NLD is supported. NLD has a big majority supporters even in ethnic minority areas. Like in Chin, NLD is the winner. Like in Karenni or in Kachin, if you look at even in ethnic minority areas, NLD is very popular party. That's the reason why NLD said, okay, if you want to join NLD. NLD is the federation. But it was wrong. That's the reason why ethnic minority leaders, they lost trust in NLD. So this time, we need to recognize this failure, that mistake we have done. So this time, we need to be very clear about our mistakes, and also we need to be very clear about what we want, what we will do. So, that is trust building is a gradual process. Of course, for the very beginning, the ethnic minorities groups would not trust. That's the main reason why they did not join NUCC. But we need to keep on trying and trying. We need to be engaging more and more. At this time, more equal term. In some cases, we need to give concessions to ethnic minority groups in order to gain their favor and their trust. And that will be my answer.
It's a long journey, and for anyone who works on Myanmar, we know it's a complicated process, and there's no easy answer, and there's no easy result. So it's always going to be quite a struggle moving forward.
One more comment, Ron. Actually, it is Myanmar cultural atmosphere. Myanmar people are very passive. They are not very assertive. Myanmar people, if you say something, even if I don't agree, I say yes. Because we are very passive, but it does not mean that I agree. People are always smiling, but it does not mean that I agree. We need to be more assertive this time, more open, more honest, more recognize the facts that, okay, we don't agree these facts, we agree these facts, but it needs to be mutual. NLD alone cannot do that. I'm very optimistic now because I know NLD, NUG, CRPH, and EROs are working together at many levels. But they are still, although they are criticism, they are working together. I mean, that is happening. But we need to change the culture of Myanmar as a whole, very passive. We need to be more assertive, more open, more to the point.
Yes, and we want the Burmese military to be less assertive and to be more passive at the same time.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Well, great question from John Brandon. Hi, John. About Rohingya, you mentioned that NLD's basically reputation and credibility was damaged because of his position basically they defended the military in its treatment of the Rohingya. Do you think that NLD has changed this position about the Rohingya? If so, why have they changed?
Actually, although it was seen that NLD, siding with military, it was never the case. NLD and military never good times. But what Aung San Suu Kyi see after 30 years of struggle is that, okay, Myanmar is deteriorating. Myanmar economy was very bad. If we continue the fight with the military, Myanmar would be a failed state. That's the reason why she started an engagement policy. If you notice, back in 1996, 1997, and 2000s, international community is pushing Aung San Suu Kyi to be engaging more with the military. So when NLD got power, she thought, okay, this is a time we work together. So she trying to constructively engage with military. But as it happened, military was never honest. So they make these operations in Rohingya area. So NLD, that time NLD and Aung San Suu Kyi was in very difficult situation. So she trying to go between Rohingya population and military. She trying to play a mediator role. But as it happened, she was pushed by both sides because, nationalists and Buddhist extremists in Myanmar accused NLD of cooperation with Western countries, Western media, OIC and Muslim population to undermine Buddhism in Myanmar. And also, this, rights group accused NLD of cooperation with military. So the question is, who is right? NLD cooperation with military or NLD cooperating with Western media, Western country? So if you are outside, if you are inside, you won't hear the voices from inside. When I say voices from inside, these accusations, very loud, very strong accusation that portraying NLD as betrayer of the nation, betrayer who collaborating with Western media, Western organization, OIC, and Muslim community to destroy, Myanmar values. That was very strong. And what I'm saying is that NLD trying to walk away that can be, that can find a solution to that problem at that time. But as it happened, NLD was accused of collaborator of military. So what I'm saying is NLD never was, never be. It's not change of position. It's not change. It's just, change of your view. So I'm trying to say the NLD never. So, but we need to recognize, because if we do not recognize the fact that NLD's failure to protect Rohingya population, it means that NLD is not very inclusive, or NLD does not want to protect its minority. So we need to recognize, we need to address that issue, although we did not commit any crime.
Yeah, that's. I'm afraid that currently that issue is not being the center of the attention with the ongoing resistance, but eventually that will be a question that NLD or CRPH or NUG or NUCC will have to answer. That what is their position on Rohingya? Well, we're coming to the bottom of the hour, and I want to use the last 3 minutes to ask you one essential question that have been raised by multiple questions from the audience, and it is about the relationship between the military and NLD. That given the current resistance, Mogil, who I understand is based on the Thai-Myanmar border, what is considered as a defeat of the Tatmadaw or of the military? What is the endgame here? And because NLD still has offices in presence in Myanmar, do you think that NLD has a chance of being the force of reconciliation, basically bringing the military and NUG together for talks eventually? That NLD can play basically a mediation role or mediation position between the two sides of the political spectrum. What do you think about this complex relationship, and what's the end game with Burmese military?
Okay, that's quite a challenging question, of course, and I think it would be wrong for NLD if it tries to negotiate with military or trying to be a mediator between revolutionary forces and the military. NLD must totally, absolutely and totally 100% be sided with the revolutionary forces, the resistance forces, because history has already proven that military cannot be accepted as a political entity in Myanmar, because throughout the history, military is always trying to pull Myanmar people down, always trying to undermine Myanmar people. So we have already tried several times to work with military. This time it is very obvious that we cannot work with military anymore. The only way is to remove the military from political scenario. And we also need to remove the current military institution and replace with new institution. Maybe we can take individual soldiers out of military and incorporated into new military. This must be our new trend. So for our new trend, no organization can lead, but we all must work together. I told you that I totally disagree with NLD leaving NUCC, but I know the challenges of NLD and NUCC stay. It needs to be in NUCC because we need to handle all these challenges. NLD needs to convince the ethnic minority organizations to be part of NUCC rather than leaving. Because NLD left NUCC, Kitchen Alliance, KPIC, Kitchen Organization, Kitchen Coalition left NUCC. NUCC became very weak. That's not a very good sign. What we need a strong organization that all the important stakeholders coming together. No NLD, no ER, everybody. And opposing military, removing military, and replacing military institution. There are two main things. We need to remove military from current Myanmar political scenario. No engagement, no negotiation. Even if we do negotiation, we will make negotiation under our terms, not under mutual terms, under our, like, the alliance forces, alliance, forces make negotiation with the Nazis and fascists, after, World War II. I mean, if we look at World War II, of course, finally they make negotiations, but under the terms of the alliance. The same thing needs to happen in Myanmar. So that's my answer. So all the forces need to come together as NUCC or anything equivalent to NUCC and formulate NUG into more effective governmental institution. Remove military from political scenario and replace current military institution with a new institution. That's my answer.
Well, Myo Yan, I have to say, I love and admire your vision and your political idealism, which is something that I have always admired about you since we first met, I believe, back in 2013 or 2014, in the region. And I really enjoyed your talk because it does present a very different picture for people's understanding of NLD and the political future of the resistance. And thank you for your elaboration on the complex relationships between NLD and different political forces. We will see how this relationship will evolve, and what will come out of it. And if you have ideas, if you have proposals in terms of how to manage this relationship, of course, we would love to invite you back to give more elaboration on what do you think that what needs to happen to realize that scenario. And for our audience, just a side note that Myo Yan is working on a commentary that focused on the future of NLD, and it will be posted on Stimson website down the road. And also, as a little advertisement, next month we're going to invite back Dr. Zach Abuja to come back to Stimson to discuss the revenue denial strategy that NUG has implemented against the military government. That should be a very interesting discussion, because if you recall, earlier this year, we talked about the revenue creation strategy of NUG. So again, thank you very much for joining us today, Myo Yan. Thank you for sharing your insights. We look forward to working with you on your commentary. And best of luck in your teaching and researching at UBA, and let us know when you come to DC. And to the audience, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for your continued focus and interest in these important topics related to Myanmar. We look forward to seeing you again down the road. Thank you so much. Have a good day and have a good evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.